But when you have people using Rahu-Mars combination in an unaware way, well, yes, that's violence and riots and arguments at home and in loving relationships. You know, different people use energies in different ways depending on their spiritual awareness and the level of their consciousness. So do read the wonderful blog I did about Rahu entering Mrigashira Nakshatra, which was part of my June 2020 astrology and healing newsletter with all its add-ons. So essentially this energy too is manifesting a social revolution, social reset, motivating some people to fight and riot and undo the ancient wrongs of slavery, which I, as a citizen of this country, Ireland, know only too well. Ireland having been anciently invaded by the English, or the Anglo-Normans as they were first, and the English as they became at the time of the dreadful Tudor and Stuart invasion and plantations, and also from 432 by the official religion of the collapsed, at that point, Roman Empire, the Catholic Church, and its dumbing down effect. So yes, we need revolution and reformation, but hopefully not bloodshed. Point number 4 is that there has been a record number of eclipses in 2020. January the 10th, full moon. June the 5th, full moon. June the 21st, new moon. July the 5th, full moon. November the 30th, full moon. And December the 14th, new moon. And so you see a summary of all the charts of this on the monthly pages on my Star Wheel Astrology website. Each month of 2020 has a page of presentation. Okay, so point number 5, well, yes, I mention again Kalsarpa Yoga. And I've already said that it's in the birth chart of Donald Trump, it's in the chart for the eclipse, it massively dominates all the dates through 2020. But there's a twist to this tale. The strange coincidence is that at the same time as Kalsarpa Yoga, not only did the United States elect a Kalsarpa Yoga president, but the United Kingdom elected a Kalsarpa Yoga Prime Minister, Boris Johnson. So we have Kalsarpa Yoga in the heavens, Kalsarpa Yoga in the chart of the President of the United States, and Kalsarpa Yoga in the chart of the Prime Minister of the UK. These are dark, divisive earthquake times of revolution. And if we handle them rightly, it can be a trigger to our finding ourselves, our true life path, and our right way of life in this society and helping a more spiritual societal reset. But the alternative is to go with the dark, violent energies of this Kalsarpa Yoga trio, Heavens, Trump, Johnson. The 6th point that I think is very important is that Uranus is transiting the Vedic sign of Aries. That's using the sidereal zodiac, which must be used for Vedic astrology. It's anchored to the stars. And the Western tropical zodiac is a psychological statement and very powerful and needed, and it's anchored to the moving position of the sun on the day of the spring equinox each year. And because it's anchored to the sun, that's why it's about our egoic self and our psychology. We need both zodiacs. Right, but the point is, I did a blog last year about the entry of... No, I did the blog in June 2017 about the entry of Uranus into Vedic Aries. And this I want you to hear. The orbit of Uranus takes 84 years. What happened when Uranus entered Vedic Aries last time? Do you know? Well, the fact is, Hitler burned down the Reichstag and World War II started. You see, Uranus entering Aries is, violence and revolution. It can be very positive. I mean, I feel in my life I have benefited so much from the Uranus transit through the sign of Aries. But the negatives are impatient revolution Uranus meeting impatient, I want it now, aggressive Aries. War. Now, I'm not saying there will be a world war this time, but you have a revolution energy, Uranus, in an aggressive setting, Aries. And it means that, well, certainly in the United States, we can see there will be aggression and violence, and that aims to get social reset and revolution. And it may be valuable in highlighting the need for the revolution, but of course we mustn't just get sucked into the violence and the repetitive Facebooking or whatever. We must develop like a spiritual transformation of ourselves and our society as a response to the aggressive Reformation energy. Okay, the seventh point I would mention that is going to be super decisive at the time of the eclipse of the 14th of December on Donald Trump's natal moon K2 conjunction is the position of Neptune. I did a blog post for my June newsletter as one of the add-on parts. Neptune has been powerful. Neptune is in a nakshatra ruled by Jupiter, and the Neptune-Jupiter combination can be super powerful. I have students on my runes course, Ogham course, courses studying the gods and goddesses of the ancient Norse and the ancient Irish, who are doing super visionary work. I am having some wonderful, insightful, inspired work on my Master Vedic Astrology course, studying Vedic astrology, and on my Western astrology course, which studies psychodynamic Western astrology and evolutionary astrology. There's no doubt that the vision has raised this year, and I think it's the position of Neptune in Vedic Aquarius, and particularly if it's, say, in your 8th house or something like that. But the point I'm making is that on the day of the eclipse, Neptune is T-square, the nodal axis. So Neptune is at 90 degrees to the south node and 90 degrees to the north node. How will Donald Trump handle that? How will the American people handle that? Well, basically, whereas the positive of Neptune is vision and guiding spiritual inspiration, it's negative, it's lies, delusions, dark revelations, and that's what will happen. Indeed, that is already happening because of other aspects made to Neptune in the run-up to the 14th of December. And let's face it, Donald Trump will be well able to manipulate the confusion and delusion that this T-square will create. Secrets and lies will spawn. The dark side of Neptune will spawn and proliferate. Be prepared for that. Please hear this. Please be prepared for this one, the seventh point. So how do each of us prepare for handling 2020 energies and coping with the crisis that will come around the December the 14th, 2020 eclipse? How do we each prepare for massive mental disease, divisiveness and controversy, that will come from the prevailing energies that have already arrived in the mass consciousness, as I've mentioned above in the 7 points. Well, it's easy to say this, but in time of darkness, we must respond with increasing light. It's so easy to say that. So what can people do which will help the most? Not just spiritual bypassing people saying, oh yes, this will reset, a new higher consciousness. What can we really do? Well, I feel the first thing is check yourself, and I am checking myself. First of all, the key foundation is, am I coming from a place of compassion, not a place of judgment? Be compassionate, be aware of our own faults, be watchful of those. Feel and act from a position of love and compassion. And when people do this, the demons flee from their bodies. Going out to nature, I think, is crucial. I find it so difficult when I see pictures of great cities in the United States, Europe, Japan, wherever. It is so healing to have a place in nature. We actually live on a tiny former farm in the remote west of Ireland, just a mile and a half from the most beautiful beach, with epic views of Ireland's most sacred sort of mountains. We need to be in touch with nature. Nature has a soul. We need to commune with that soul. I could say a lot more. And also getting exercise is definitely important, and that can include doing yoga, and exercise is a known antidepressant. Some people are saying no longer watch TV. Well, I haven't watched TV since I was age 17. And limit your exposure to the news. Well, I almost never see the news. Don't overpost on Facebook. These are suggestions I would make. So basically what is building up is a polarization between the old consciousness and the new consciousness. And this keeps happening at times. I know for a fact that there were very spiritual groups as the Roman Empire rose to its disgusting bread and circuses peak and was totally destroyed in the year 410. But there were some very spiritual groups going on there as well. And we must choose to identify with spiritual people and spiritual groups, because to identify with a mass consumerist society won't let us find out who we are, who we incarnated to be this time, how we're actually meant to relate to loved ones, to society. This is a time for revolution, and take stock carefully. What does it mean for you? What does this time, the coronavirus lockdown and all the conflict and the building crisis, what does it mean for you in your life now? Be brave enough to listen to the whisper of your own heart now, and not to the roar of society. I would say that, I feel the insight offered by astrology is wonderful, and you can get a reading from me. I feel an insight from my astrology has given me such clarity, and has made me make some quite sort of tricky decisions. And that is quite simply that Uranus in the heavens now is transiting on the North Node in my birth chart in Aries, in my 10th house of career. And at the same time as Uranus is transiting on my North Node in my chart, the North Node in the heavens is transiting on my natal Uranus. Do you see? Double whammy. And this eclipse is conjunct my natal Uranus, and I've made a very big decision about a big offering I'm going to make to the world, which will be clearly available from September onwards. So watch this space. I'm not giving you any details yet. But maybe this can be a useful prompt for people listening, taking a big decision with frightening implications because of being able to see and analyse the astrological energies. And they're not the only ones. As I said, Neptune is making superb gifts to those who understand him properly. He's about to retrograde soon, and that's when you have to hang on to your Neptune visions and perceptions rather than let them dissolve to nothing. So, and another point is, Maggie Pashley, my wife, has been doing endless numbers of soul realignments during the coronavirus lockdown period. Because people are asking during lockdown and in the context of fragmenting, fractured societies, what is my life purpose? What is the nature of my soul? Am I aligned to that? And indeed, I can perhaps share this and you can see if it resonates in your life. Because of lockdown, well, certainly in Ireland where lockdown was very strictly managed, and so there's been very few cases of the disease and so few deaths, thankfully. The Irish government has managed it very well, but we haven't been able to travel, so we've become more of a team. We're building extensions on our house, for sort of Airbnb type guests, and to underpin my Sacred West of Ireland tours, which obviously are shut down at the moment, but will fairly soon reopen. We've been realising the importance of self-sufficiency, caring for the land one lives on, planting the land one lives on, getting to love the land you live on. And certainly I do feel that more and more of where we live. Deepening your connection to the land, and I would say the land spirits. All this is a long-term process, but it has been assisted by the coronavirus lockdown. And so maybe you would like to take stock as the lockdown is now fading. What is my soul purpose? How am I aligned to it or not? How could I be aligned to it? Can I align to it now? So you can book an astrology reading with me through the buy page on my Star Wheel Astrology website, or book one of Maggie's healings on her www.maggiepashley.com website, including soul realignment, but many more. So now I'm going to cross-refer and cross-analyse the chart of the eclipse, the chart of Donald Trump, and the chart of the United States. And as I said, they're available for you to easily view on my December 2020 webpage. So yes, you can clearly see that Ketu, the south node of the eclipse, is together with the moon conjunct his unstable moon-Ketu conjunction. And that conjunction is sadly a very bad indicator for his mothering and for the effects of his mothering. As I said, creating a consciousness that's very prone to hissy fits at the very least. So this will be bad for the stability of his mind to have an eclipse right exact on top of it. Notice that the eclipse and the Donald Trump moon are in Jyesta Nakshatra. I actually teach a Nakshatra's course, as I've said, and Jyesta Nakshatra is about being impelled to be the eldest. Well, of course, you can be the eldest in a very negative way and constantly lay your trip on people, as a parent, for example, or you can be the eldest in a very spiritual, positive way. And of course, he is very much playing a cynical game in preserving his position as the eldest. Notice it's in the Gandanta zone. That's the transition point from water sign to fire sign in Vedic astrology. So in this case, from the end of Scorpio to the beginning of Sagittarius. And in these Gandanta zones, this world, Mahamaya, becomes more and more immaterial, with the divine possibility that a person with planets there might connect to the real truth, the real world beyond, which has different names in different spiritual paths. And the point is, the closer you have your planet to the 0 point, the actual transition point from water to fire, say 1 degree either side, the stronger will be the Gandanta effect in your life. Well, if you're a cynical trickster like Donald Trump, it means you could rip up the physical because you know that in certain senses it's not real, but you bring a destructiveness to that realization rather than a positive spiritual insight gaining. And this is a very big thing. Compare the chart of the eclipse to Donald Trump's. Notice that the Rahu of the eclipse, the north